everyone. Welcome to AKE Report webinar, brought to you in part by Focus Communications. Today, I am sitting down with Labrador Gold, getting an update from the president and CEO, Roger Moss. I'm your host, Corey Fleck. I will be searching through all the questions that you send in through the chat function and the Q&A function to interject those questions with Roger and have a little bit more of a conversation around the company's summer exploration program at the Hopedale Project in Labrador, as well as discuss what the big picture plans are for the company to utilize those newfound gold shares that the company has after selling its past project, the Kingsway Project, and now looking to focus on new assets, but again, continuing to explore at that Hopedale Project. Labrador Gold is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol LAB, on the OTCQX under the symbol NKOSF, and the Frankfurt Exchange 2N6. So thank you everybody for joining us on this webinar. As I mentioned, please use that chat function and the Q&A function within this webinar software to send me all your questions. And Roger, thank you for taking time to provide an update on that Hopedale exploration as well as those big picture corporate plans. I'll let you take it away now, Roger.
All right, Corey, thanks very much. It's good to be back here again and give your listeners an update. I think some of them will be familiar with Lab Gold and perhaps even with our Hopedale project, but I'm not sure how many people really know what we're up to and what we've been doing in the background since we sold our Kingsway project earlier this year. This is just our corporate disclaimer. I will be making forward-looking statements, so be aware of that. And Labrador Gold, what's Labrador Gold about? I mean, right now, our main project is our Hopedale project. It's a district scale project with gold and critical metals, nickel, copper, and zinc potential up in Labrador. We've been working up there since 2017, and I think it's a great project. I've always liked this project, and again, we're in the same jurisdiction, Newfoundland and Labrador, as we were when we were working on the Kingsway project, and we really like it there. It's politically stable and very supportive of mineral exploration and mining. Our team out there has been excellent, as we saw with our Kingsway project and the success that we had there. And our shareholders have been good, especially our major shareholders who have been supporting us through the last 4 or 5 years and up until the current time. So right now we're in a pretty good position. We have around $6 million of cash in the bank, and the sale of Kingsway to Newfound Gold brought in just over 5.2 million shares of Newfound Gold, and that's at a current valuation of about 15 million. So this is what the share structure looks like. We have about 170 million shares outstanding. We have a few options, 7.3 million for a fully diluted total of 1.77. Recently trading in the 6.5 to 7 cent range. And so market cap right now is about 11 million. And as I just mentioned, 6 million in the bank, about 15 million worth of Newfound Gold shares. So obviously trading well under our cash and cash equivalent value. And major shareholders, Eric Sprott is still our largest shareholder at 10.7%. And we have Palisades Gold Corp, Newfound Gold, and Crestcat Capital all owning large positions.
Roger, just as clarification too, just to remind everybody, those Newfound Gold shares, no restrictions on those, right? You're free to trade them however you wish.
Yes, that's right. I think the hold came off yesterday. There was a 4-month hold, 4 months and 1 day, normal hold period, and I think that ended yesterday. So yeah, we're free to trade now.
Okay, thank you.
So looking at our Hopedale project, this is just more of a closer view of where it's at. It is located about 30 kilometers to the southwest of the Hopedale community. The Hopedale community is on the Atlantic Ocean, and there is in fact a fjord that goes all the way down right next to the Hopedale project. So we're actually on tidewater, which is obviously good for bringing in supplies. Otherwise, we get into the project by float plane. So the great thing about Hopedale, in my mind, is that it covers most of the Florence Lake Greenstone Belt. It's a district scale project, and as we know, greenstone belts are very prolific hosts of gold mineralization. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next few slides. But our exploration to date, we've seen, in addition to gold, we've also seen copper, lead, and zinc, as I mentioned at the outset. And we'll look in a little bit more detail at that in a minute. This is what the geology looks like. It's hard to make out, but basically the greenstone belt you can see in the greenish colors, and the licenses are in red. So you can see that we have most of that greenstone belt under license, and it stretches over about a 43-kilometer strike length. Historically, it's been underexplored. I mentioned that we started work here in 2017, and we have done by far the most work on this belt, and you'll see some of the results of that in a moment. Again, greenstone belts, lots of gold deposits occur in greenstone belts all over the world, and this is just an example of some of the greenstone hosted gold camps in Ontario. And you'll see Timmins in the top left. Then you've got Red Lake, Lauder Lake, and Kirkland Lake. And you can see there underneath how many million ounces of tons have been produced. And this is still, obviously, this is still ongoing. I think these numbers are from 2012. So those would be larger now. And on the same scale is the Florence Lake Greenstone Belt, which is where our Hopedale project is, and that's the one down here in the lower right. So certainly has the size in terms of the amount of greenstone in the belt, but there haven't been any resources, gold resources, uncovered there yet.
So Roger, is there anybody else active in this area besides Lab Gold?
Yes, there is one. There is one company that has some of the excuse me, some of the ground to the west. So where this little bulge comes out, they'll have that part over there, and they're looking for nickel, and that's Churchill Resources has nickel project over there in the southern part of the Florence Lake Greenstone Belt.
So is your exploration focused mostly on gold, or is it on some of these other minerals and metals that you've highlighted?
Well, that's a good question, and I can talk to that here. Initially, it was totally focused on gold. Back in 2017, we started doing reconnaissance soil sampling. That was successful. So we did soil sampling from top to bottom, and come up with a lot of really good soil anomalies, and you can see those here on this map. So initially it was focused on gold, and that's still the main focus, but more recently we have been looking at copper, nickel, and zinc because of course there is a big push for critical metals these days, and in fact we can get more grants from the government to be looking for copper, nickel, and zinc, and so that's sort of helped us out with our exploration in the last 2 years up here at Hopedale is just by looking at those metals. And as you can see on here, we have found a number of nickel occurrences that would be sort of down here at Last Resort, right here at Rusty Ridge, and up here at Misery. These are mainly nickel prospects, and then the copper. There's one up here at Capac, and there's another one down here at Stonefly. So, in addition to the gold, there is this potential for other base metals in the greenstone belt, and that's typical of greenstone belts as well. It's they tend to have gold mineralization. They're probably best known for great gold mineralization, but they also have the VMS style copper lead zinc deposits and the nickel usually in komatiitic ultramafic rocks, and that's what we see here at Hopedale.
Okay, so when you do explore here, then it does sound like you'll be doing multi-element assays, then testing for all of these.
Yeah, always. The assays are always done. We always do multi-element assays. Even if we're just looking for gold, you often find some copper along with the gold. You'll see arsenic, antimony, different pathfinders. So it's we usually our package is usually multi-element. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Let me just go back here for a minute. So the area up here in the top we call Thurber, and it's going to cover that up. So I'm not going to do that. So we're going to zoom in the top right hand license here, which we call the Thurber license, and that's really where the gold is, where we found most of the gold. That may be a function of us having done more work up there, but I really think that this is an area that has significant potential for gold mineralization. And the reason for that is we've basically outlined a 3-kilometer trend that you can see. Let's get rid of those. You can see over here. So this is a trend of gold mineralization that shows up in both soil sampling that we did and also in rock samples. And we've been bringing this along and also extending it. This recent summer, we had some more. We did some more work, and that was up north of that area, and that's about another 1.5 kilometers that we see more gold mineralization. So we've got a 3-kilometer trend that we've outlined over the last few years, and then we've got this new extension, if you like, that's probably another 1.5 kilometers going up to the northern boundary of the Thurber license. And we've done a lot of work, especially on TD 500. That was an occurrence that we found in 2019, I think it was, and that's really our most advanced prospect on the property. We've got gold up there in the range of 22 grams a ton, and a lot of assays over a gram, including some of the channel samples that we did up there a few years ago. Good grades over significant width. So that's probably I would say that's a drill-ready prospect at this point.
So, Roger, when could you get drilling on some of these? I was going to ask what further work you need to do, but if it's drill-ready and if you're seeing some of these high-grade surface results, when can you start drilling here?
Well, I think we could start drilling it next year. It's a bit late in the year to get in there now to drill, but we could start drilling next year. We haven't decided what we're going to do with Hopedale next year, and that really depends on what else we have going on next year. And perhaps that's a good time to go into this next slide, which so this is something that we've been working on for a while, and I'm not sure that I've actually presented this in this sort of setting, but I've certainly talked about it in the past. That what we have is we have what I think is a very particular advantage over some of the other smaller companies like Lab Gold, in that we have a very strong balance sheet. As I mentioned, we have $6 million in cash, and we also have the Newfound Gold shares, which are currently worth around $15 million. And in this current gold price environment, that it makes sense to us to acquire a significant gold deposit. And by significant, I mean a deposit that already has an outlined resource with a decent grade. And so that's what we're looking at. And our target is a deposit of 1 million ounce or more. Good grades, 2 grams a ton for open pit, 4 grams a ton for underground, with the potential to expand it. So it's that's our target. We'd like to stay in Canada. We're very comfortable in Canada. We know that that there are jurisdictions in Canada that aren't as good as others, but generally Canada is good. And we have been looking right across Canada with a number of these deposits that are out there. And it's interesting because of the state of the junior mining market over the last 2 years, and the really hard time it has been to fund these projects. We're seeing these deposits of 1 million ounce plus that are basically being valued at $10 to $20 an ounce in the ground or less. So when you look at that, and you look at gold, even now it's come off to about $2,600 an ounce. That's still a very good multiple, if you like. So we think that buying an ounce of gold in the ground for $10 to $20 right now is an excellent way to use what we have.
Especially if you see that growth potential on it too, because you are right, Roger. There are still projects out there with even sub $10 an ounce in the ground valuations.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to look outside of Canada, though. So are you locked strictly into Canada, or do you think you might even expand outside of the Canadian borders?
Well, I think we're, as I said, we're most comfortable in Canada. I have worked in many different jurisdictions around the world. Some of them I wouldn't want to go to at all. It's just not worth it. We see news headlines every now and again that people are being kidnapped or held or detained. Just recently in Mali, for example. So I don't want to really go too far off the beaten track. Somewhere like Nevada, Nevada is a great jurisdiction. They have good gold deposits there, so potentially Nevada. But I think we have to restrict ourselves. Otherwise, we could probably take 3 years to find something if we go all over the world. So that was another part of our rationale to staying in Canada. Is like we don't need to be looking at 50 projects. we need to look at a finite number, if you like, or a smaller number, and in a good jurisdiction.
Fair enough. You want to get a deal done too, right?
Yeah.
You want to utilize that capital. It's sitting on your balance sheet, or at least in shares. Let's put it to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, people say time is money, and I kind of agree. I kind of agree with that. So that's what we're trying to do. And then, as I mentioned earlier, if we would like to see the expansion potential on any of these deposits. So when we make an acquisition, the idea would be to expand that resource, whatever it happens to be, update the resource estimate, and then move it through the various studies up to the point of pre-feasibility. And if you look, if we look at the next slide, this is kind of my rough timeline for getting it done. And you'll see that the acquisition, I was hoping to get it done this year. It's taking a little longer than I expected, since we're almost at the end of the year. But I'm pretty confident that we'll see something in first quarter of next year, and then that would just, especially in Canada, that would be a good time to start drilling through 2025, and then of course moving those studies along. And as I said, looking at a 3-year timeline through to pre-feasibility study.
So I guess depending on the acquisition, whenever it is that you choose to go after a project, is that when you manage those newfound gold shares, potentially selling them?
Yeah, I think it would depend on the acquisition and the kind of acquisition that we do. Because we have that $6 million in the bank, there's no rush to be selling those shares. So yeah, it would depend on the type of acquisition that we do, whether or not we need to use those shares. Okay. And this is just a summary. As I said, I really like Hopedale. It's a great project. We could go in there and drill next year, but if we do acquire this 1 million ounce gold deposit, we'll have a lot of work to do there. And so Hopedale will probably we'll bring it along in the back, just as we did when we were drilling out Kingsway. But I think it has excellent potential for gold, especially, but also for nickel and copper. And it's something that I really like. And I mentioned the cash and the shares already, and the value that's there. So that's really where we're at. And I think where we're at right now, in terms of looking at these projects, we probably started off with about 16-ish, and we've narrowed that down quite a lot, and we're doing some pretty in-depth work on at least one of them right now. So yeah, we're getting closer.
So do you think that you would even find another person to explore that Hopedale project, depending on the type of acquisition that you move forward with?
I would certainly be open to that. I don't, it doesn't have to be us to explore it. If we could find someone that wanted to joint venture it, I'd be quite happy to go along with that.
Okay. Now, Roger, another question that's come in is, what's the approximate burn rate for the company at current time as you're doing this almost due diligence, let's call it, on potential acquisitions?
Oh, burn rate right now is minimal. I haven't looked at it recently. I would guess, let me see, it would be less than 50,000 a month. Quite a bit less, I would think. Yeah.
Okay. So again, you've cut down expenses, but the whole question is, what project will you bring in? What sort of work will you then do on it? But then still people are wondering, why not go drill Hopedale a little bit as well. On that topic, though, Roger, could this company be a potential takeover target when you consider the cash in the bank and the current market cap? Someone noted right around $11 million.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, I guess there would be. It's possible that that some company might take a run at us. It hasn't happened yet, but yeah, it could happen.
Okay. So really right now it's a wait and see. Will there be any more news coming out from that 2024 exploration program over at Hopedale?
No, I think we put out a news release a few weeks ago that summarized all the results that we have. Nothing else coming down the pipe there. The next news will be concerned with an acquisition that we do.
Okay. Now, Roger, is it just a gold focused acquisition that you're looking for? I know all the numbers you were throwing out about a 1 million ounce plus deposit. That is gold numbers, but would you be looking at any of these other multi-element type of assets?
Yeah, I mean, if they come our way, like some people say copper and gold would be a beautiful asset, and I certainly wouldn't be opposed to it. We're not actively seeking them out though at this point.
Okay, you're not. Now you said you've narrowed down at least some of the companies or projects that you're looking at. Somebody wants to know how far along you are in the analysis of some of the projects or targets. Sounds like you want to get a deal done fairly soon. So what's still to come? What more insights can you do us on potential acquisitions?
How far? Well, I mean, I guess
I know it's tough to answer, but
I guess
they want to know.
We can go forever, and and researching things to death. But I think at some point we have to come to a decision, and is this something that we want to do? And if it is, like then we're going to have to start negotiating. And it's just that for me, if we're looking at a project with a resource, then there are 43-101 reports out there. So you want to check those. You want to be comfortable with them. You want to know that they've been done by a reputable group or persons. And if you're fine with that, I mean, you can pick up a lot of warts or whatever from some of these from some of these resource studies or PEAs especially. But if you're comfortable with that, then the biggest thing for me after that is what's the potential here? Is that can we double that? Can we get a 2 to 3 million ounce resource out of it? And if so, how? And how much will it cost? And how long will it take? So those are the kind of things which are more nuanced and take longer to do than just checking the reports and making sure that what they have is what they say they have, and things like that. So I think it's more the upside that's taking the time to figure out.
Okay. And that's a key point too, right? You're looking to acquire still an exploration place, something with ounces in the ground, but that you see expansion potential on. So I guess, Roger, we're all just more or less waiting. We're waiting to see what project you bring in. Is that what we're left with here? What project you bring in and what you might do at Hopedale next year?
Yeah, I think that's it. There's not much else that we have going on, and but there is a lot going on in the background, as you can tell, in terms of looking at this project. And I think that that'll be the main thing that that we go forward with. And if it takes a little longer to get something better or to get the best result for the company and our shareholders, then I'm okay with that.
Okay. Well, Roger, we've been through it all then, and I keep on getting the questions. When is Lab Gold going to make an acquisition here? I'm sure you'll keep me as up to date as you can. So when that news breaks, I'll bring you on my show. I'm sure we'll even do another webinar here to highlight the project that you bring in. In the meantime, everyone, you can see Roger's contact information there. Please feel free to call him or contact him directly. You can also email me directly, fleck@kereport.com, and I'll follow up with Roger as we get more news out of Labrador Gold. Roger, thank you for your time. Thanks for walking us through what's been going on with the company. And everyone, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for sending in your questions.
Yeah, thanks very much, Corey. It's great to be back again.